Hey everyone, Sari here, and welcome to a special stream today, just as a sort of a thank you to all of you for subscribing and just checking out the channel. Um, yeah, thank you. Honestly, I don't think I ever really expected this many people to be interested in this, so thank you guys, all of you, for just chipping in and checking out my stuff. So, I'm going to start this just by going through some summons on this legendary remix. I wasn't sure if I was going to summon on this one actually, but once I saw that Violet and Tsubasa were going to be on it, I figured, I may as well spark on it. They're both merge projects, and it's a good way to celebrate. I should have enough orbs to go through for the spark, assuming we don't get just a non-stop string of only one of red or blue. Hey, and thank you very much. Honestly, it's really kind of incredible to me to just know that this many people like watching my videos. So, yeah, thank you all, honestly, for it. Let's see if we can find some 5 stars along the way here. I actually didn't pull on the first remix banner. I kind of wanted to, just because sparking for Ike would have been fun. Oh! Well, I guess Gray counts as a 5-star. Sort of. I still don't understand why he was 5-star locked in the first place. Ooh, 4 of them. Nice. Oh, just a Selena. And, ooh. Miranda's actually someone I'm keeping an eye on. She's got a really solid stat line, even if she doesn't have a preferred weapon. No Ferdinand. Well, maybe someday he'll be good. Oh, just a 3-star. Oh, just one. I guess we'll get that sometimes. And a 3-star. Ooh, wow, full circle. Nice. Wouldn't mind getting Ryoma's either. Oh, favorite girl. Honestly, I don't know if I could point a favorite. There are a lot of really, really great characters in this game. I like Edelgard a lot, though. Probably recency bias, because I left 3 houses, but... Oh, hey! There's Tsubasa. I'm actually very interested in finishing building Tsubasa at some point now that we're getting that plate session as a seal. Another Miranda, wow. I think the game's trying to tell me something here. But yeah. I've liked a lot of the characters, male and female characters in this game. Or games, I guess. I've been enjoying Fire Emblem for a while, so... And actually playing through Blazing Blade again has kind of reminded me why I liked Lyn in the first place, because Heroes doesn't do a very good job of representing a lot of the characters that show up in it. It's not bad though. We already found a Tsubasa in the first 13 pulls. Pretty good. Pretty good. I'll probably end up sparking for Byleth, just because I think Byleth's got better fodder overall, so wouldn't mind getting extra copies of her past a full merge. Just a Mei. I say just a Mei, but I did see a really impressive Mei in one of my replays recently. It's always interesting to see someone take a common unit and turn them into something really impressive. Especially in Aether raids, where a lot of things kind of get dominated by recent and really powerful units. So it's neat to see. Lucas, though, I haven't seen him in a while. I know I saw a really impressive one at one point, but... Let's see if we get a Byleth. Oh, that's not Byleth, but that's a Fallen Celica, I think. If I'm reading that profile. Yeah. I'm okay with that one. I actually like her Refine a lot. It's a bit tricky to get her weapon online, but once you get it there, she's actually really, really strong. Oh, hey, Ryoma. As Pity Breakers go, he's pretty good. Oh, that's a really good circle, isn't it? Okay, I guess we can be happy enough with that. Not bad so far, though. Gray's kind of just there, but Celica, Tsubasa, and Ryoma already. I almost wonder if I just have better luck when I'm pulling on streams, because I think I've seen more of those 4-star specials just in this session than I have in the last 3 or 4 banners. It's kind of weird. Oh, hi Reinhardt. Oh, only one. Parry. A lot of these older units who've gotten the refines have really kind of been left in the dust. The ones that got them really early, I mean, kind of like Parry and Takumi, honestly. Ugh. Takumi and Leo both got really shafted, I think, with their refines, and maybe someday they get revisited. That'd be nice. Oh, nope. Oh, nope. I'm not sure how they'd do that, though. Update old refines. I'm sure they're thinking about it, just because it's kind of obvious how different those first refines are from some of the newer ones. So, here's hoping we see something fun at some point. Matilda. Yeah, well. See what's in the next circle. Oh wow, that's a lot of blue. That's a good question, actually. I might have to come back to you when we get the barracks tour, because I'm pretty sure there's some older ones that I'd love to see thinking of effect on. I'm not thinking of any off the top of my head. I think, actually, one of the ones I'd really like to see updated, thinking about it, is Erica's. That base effect of Hone Attack is really, really unfortunate. And the other half of the Refine is actually really cool. So it helps that she's a 3 to 4 star unit, so she's easy enough to build up. And yeah. Stuff like that though, where the base effect is just really unfortunate, but the extras are really cool. Oh, and there's an Ephraim. Not Tsubasa, but maybe he'll get a cool remix. Alright, 8 more. Nope. Nope again. I was kind of hoping I'd see 1 each of Byleth and Tsubasa on the way to 40, but if I get one and spark the other, I think I'm okay with that. Hey there, Crimson. Lucas would be another one I'd like to see a new Refine for. I'm trying to remember, but I think the timing was just really awkward with this Refine, where he got it, and then his Picnic alt got an inheritable lance with the same effect, and it was just a oof. Nope. Alright. Let's see if we can find a 5-star before it finishes. We found 4, so there's a chance. Nope. No Subasas. Yes, Faye, thank you. Nope. Well, looks like we're getting a bunch of 3 stars on the end of it. At least we get a spark, right? Honestly, I really do like the sparking system. I wish they'd expanded a bit and just let us spark on seasonals. They did it on the winter banner, so they obviously can. They just don't necessarily want to. Alright, let's get ourselves a Byleth and wrap this up. It's not a bad session overall, though. Ended up with 1 each of Byleth and Tsubasa, and a Ryoma and an Ephraim, so 1 of everything. That's a good way to finish. Right. So I also... I was watching Eldervi's video recently about his theory-crafted defense and ways around it. I think I do agree with him that having a save armor helps a lot with being able to deal with these. Oh, yeah, hold on. Let's go find his defense. There you are. So, I'm going into this, and I promise I'm not trying to style here with all of these unequipped skills and unblessed Felix. This is more intended to show that you can get through one of these squads with a couple of very specific skills. The most important one, I think, and I really do agree with Eldervi on this, is that Far Save helps significantly with dealing with these kinds of setups, because a lot of the threat that Sigurd squads tends to have doesn't necessarily come from Sigurd himself, but from all of his ranged partners that come in after him. And for that, I'm going to use this Felix. Mine is maxed. I'm not using an Astral Blessing, though, to try and show that you can do this with a Felix that's actually at a much lower investment level. You don't need him at plus 10, plus 5 in order to make something like this work. I am also using Fallen Edelgard on the side here, but she's not actually going to do a whole lot at the start of this. Now the way I'm approaching this, and hopefully going to be able to approach most of these types of setups, hey there Monty, is by using Felix to cover just a few people while I have Altina end up baiting Sigurd out. So
You have
we're going to start by just getting Altina moved into the corner here.
Why not? If I have to.
I won't lose.
And clearing this out. Now by settling in this formation, we're out of range of both Nana and Leaf, and by staying out of those ranges, we can force Sigurd to rally a single target, in this case Reinhardt. And by forcing him to rally Reinhardt, we know exactly where he's going to be. Once he rallies, he's going to get danced, and Nana will also get danced. This part is actually very important because it means we don't have to worry about any follow-ups after Nana uses Flash, because all of the dances are done. All we have to worry about at that point is the ranged units that are coming in after Sigurd comes in and attacks. And Sigurd should also always be the first one to attack here, because if Reinhardt attacks Naga, which is the only thing he can attack before Sigurd uses a special, Felix is going to intercept him, and thanks to Vengeful Fighter and Bonfire, he'll kill Reinhardt pretty easily. So, as I've said here, the first thing that'll happen, because it's the only thing that's really logical for the AI, is Sigurd's going to rally, and then he gets danced, another dance comes through, and Sigurd attacks into Naga. Now, my Naga is also maxed for this, but you should be able to pull this off with even a minus defense plus 0 Naga, as long as she has Triangle Adept and Swordbreaker. Now, you might need something like close defense for her to survive against, say, a plus 10, plus 5, plus attack Sigurd. But it should work even with a minimal investment Naga. From here, Nana's attacking Felix first because she can do damage when she attacks him from that tile. So she doesn't actually attack Naga and force that save instead. And Reinhardt doesn't attack because he actually does less damage to Felix than he can do to Edelgard. And from here, this situation's actually really salvageable. Mostly thanks to Gale Force.
Yes.
Which I think is actually
Out of
another
my
very
way.
important part of dealing with these teams, because while you can potentially survive that initial surge, you still have to clean things up afterwards. So,
What?
a good Gale Force unit, who can ideally survive one of these cavalries attacking them, is a great way to do this, and the reason I say survive them is because that actually really helps to charge Gale Force up. And of course, if you end up seeing a Wings of Mercy Saros, that's actually kind of helpful because it gets her closer to the front line for you to deal with her. And if you happen to have Dragon Effectiveness on your armor unit behind Naga, you'll probably be able to handle Saros pretty easily. And again, yes, I do know that this is Fallen Edelgard, and she's very popular as a target right now for being extremely strong.
Really?
Which is why I'm going to also demonstrate this with a
Do I look
fairly
merry?
generic armor next.
Yeah. I'm going to stop you.
Overall though, I do think the two biggest keys to dealing with these setups are having a lot of open spaces in your structure lane, and having a far safe armor, unfortunately. Without a far safe armor, I think this is actually extremely hard to handle well.
Out of my way.
So it's definitely a skill to keep an eye out for whenever it shows up on a banner again. And from here, all the threats are basically sorted. It's easy enough to have Felix
I'll deliver.
tank out
Close your
Mirabilis
eyes.
It will be done. What is your desire?
Why
and pick
not?
up the pots from there.
If I have to.
So, I won't go and finish this, because again, it's very
Yes.
easy just to finish this off like this. Instead, we're going to duck out and demonstrate this one with a much more generic armor, who... Again, I swear I'm not trying to style here, I'm just trying to show that you can do this with lower investment units than the ones I've got. So, again, no Astral Blessing, but I'm just trying to offset the fact that my Flame Emperor is +10. Now, this is really going to go almost exactly the same as the last round. I can remember how to arrange my units. Yeah, there we go.
Consider it done.
Once again, we're going to just get into positions
Really?
Over here?
and break this. And wait, there are a couple of kind of specific skills here. I don't necessarily need this attack respawn, it's more just to make sure that this Flame Emperor can actually do some damage once we hit the player phase. I do think, though, that a Triangle Adept Swordbreaker Naga is actually a really good way to help intercept these squads as long as you can protect her with a save armor. Because a lot of Sigurd squads only have one melee on their team, because it's so much better to cover more of the map with ranged threats than it is to try and potentially get clogged up with other melee. And the nice thing about this is that you also end up having a lot of free skills to work with. Again, you've probably seen how many skills I don't have equipped on this team. And the reason for that is just to show that you actually have a lot of room to work with, skill-wise. You could be running tactics on Maltina, or just have her be her own Vantage carry self. You can run a Sabotage on Plumeria, even though it wouldn't work for these sorts of teams, thanks to the odd recovery. There's a lot that you can add in just to help make the team more flexible in other maps and situations than just something like this.
It will be done.
I am going.
I'll be honest, this Reinhardt is kind of ridiculously tanky if you're trying to hit him with a
Close your
physical unit.
eyes.
If I have to. Do I look merry?
Something else that I do also think is going to be very relevant is keeping Reagan's personal special. As fun as it is to use Gale Force on her, it doesn't help if she can't actually break through her target.
I won't lose.
And especially against something
Just
like
like
Leaf,
Fafnir.
being able to target his res is really, really useful. And again, like the last one, from here, it's actually basically one. Guinea will get herself knocked out against Flame Emperor, and we can move on from there. So yeah, I really do think that these setups are extremely strong, and I'm really grateful to Eldervi for letting me just showcase a couple of the answers that I think are actually really useful against this kind of stuff. I'm a little annoyed that a far save is almost required to beat them, but I think it's either that or running probably 3 different carries that can all survive against 2 to 3 targets on their own, and that's hard, especially when you start introducing flash to the mix and everything else going on at the same time. It's a very spooky team setup. I don't know how popular it's going to be once save armors start becoming a bigger part of, or a more common sight. I think that Hector's actually a much better unit for this sort of strategy than Felix is, because he can actually still attack melee as well. But on the other hand, Felix gets to specialize for ranged, which is very helpful, and having close defense 4 actually really, distant defense 4 really helps for those follow-ups, especially just because Sigurd ends up buffing his entire team for 6 attack, along with that extra movement. It's very silly. Anyway, the last part of the stream... Oh, I forgot to put Flame Emperor's build up there. Sorry. Anyway, for the last part of the stream, I'm just going to sort of tour the barracks a little and go over some of the highlights that I've picked up over the years. This one's going to be all of the plus 10s I've got in my barracks, and I have quite a few of them at this point. Ranging from the 3 to 4 star units that sometimes I've used, sometimes not. I actually really intended to use Selef, and he's very solid. I haven't had to use him yet, and it's hard to keep him on the teams when the other ones all work so well. Ike was one of my first plus 10s, actually. I'm a big fan of Ike and Tellius in general, which is why I've invested so much into this Zelgius. Eldervi's actually been one of the, I think, my best investment overall for AR defense since I built him last year, actually. It's been that long already. And of course Ashnard. This guy is just so good. So good. I do still want to get Wyvern Flight for him at some point, but I haven't pulled a melody yet. Maybe at some point, but I'm not in a rush. Pegasus Flight does the job. And Fjorm. Fjorm I actually ended up pulling over a long while, actually. I can't remember when I ended up merging her up, but I actually did end up inheriting Attack Defense Bond from her to Zelgius a very long time ago too, and I kinda regret that now because I could have gotten Unity instead. And Azura. Azura's actually the first 5-star I ever pulled on this account. I ended up re-rolling several times on launch day just to try and find a circle that I was okay with keeping, and ended up finding one with 2 Azuras in one circle, which I don't know what the odds on that were. She wasn't a focus unit, but I ended up keeping it, and she's done a lot of work for me over the years. And Dimitri is, I think, one of probably my most recent +10, actually, after the Hero Rises banner. Ugh, Narcian. No, I'll say this, and I actually am quite happy to have this guy +10, just because I love his voice actor. He did such a good job in FEH. But I actually ended up getting him to +10 while I was trying to find one single Spring Idune, and never ended up finding one. Still don't have her. It's very unfortunate, but... And Papa Surtur. Like... Sheena was one of my first projects that I actually built specifically for the arena, and she was in there for a long time on my arena squads. She hasn't held up as well as I'd like, though. It's unfortunate. She's just... I don't know. She doesn't really do much damage at all, and she can't seem to take hits either. It's not a good combination for a tank. And of course, Edelgard and not Edelgard. And the original Narcian. I like this refine quite a bit. I don't know if he doesn't quite have the right stats to make it work properly, and kind of being forced into IOTs for his seal it holds him back a lot. There's Felix, of course, and Kronya, who have been pretty consistent staples of my Ether Raid squads. Air. And Leon. I actually ended up fully merging Leon right before we found out we'd be getting another manual for him, and that hurt a bit. That hurt. We've also got Morgan, who's the most recent star of my light weeks. I've really been enjoying him, he's so good. Maria. I never actually pulled directly for Julia, and she's +10 now. I don't mind having her maxed at all, but she's pity broken me way too many times. Way too many times. Got Oliver and Reinhardt, Peony. I did end up getting Selikup to +10 too. I think it was just... yeah, it was just this past December, actually, when I finally finished her. Soren, Bramamond... Just... This is actually an inherit I really regret at this point, because I gave it to him expecting to use him in the arena, and never actually ended up using him in the arena. So, that's a Loki merge I could have given to somebody else. Or a Loki merge in general. Corin. Speaking of regrets for inheritance, I talked myself into feeding her a Nyla, and haven't really ended up using her much, so it's unfortunate. Tiki's actually a lot like Julia, where I never actually pulled for her, and she's just pity broken me over the course of several legendary banners. Again, a lot like Julia, it means that I've actually got a pretty solid pair of Earth legendaries for Arena. Naga, of course, and Nagi. Most of these actually came from Edelgard's debut banner. She's actually very solid. I don't use her much anymore, but I used to use her a lot. I think it was in Light Weeks. She has a bit of a hard time dealing with impact Bramamons though, so she ended up getting phased out. Mila, and Corin, and Rayson. also got quite a lot of people that I've been sort of collecting slowly over the years. Levitane's fun. I've never been able to convince myself to actively pull for her, but I'm actually really interested to see what she gets for a Refine. I think she's still the only melee with the full Blade Tome effect. I know her Ninja alt has a similar effect, but it's not quite as strong, and so does the Harmonic Tiki as well. It'll be interesting to see what they give her. Brave Celica's kind of in the same boat, where I'd like to merge her, but Deathblow 4 was just... I've inherited it a couple of times, and... well, she's sort of a long-term project, a lot like the other Ikes. And Byleth, too. Actually, I should merge her after we finish looking at these. Same with Tsubasa. Get them their +1s. I'd actually really like to finish building Tsubasa because I think the speed defense trace would be all kinds of fun to use with her, especially since I got the rain from the Reforma as well. There's Hector, who has slowly pity broken me up to +5. I'd really like to give him a far save, but I already have it on Felix, so it's hard to justify it because that would be a second blue far save unit in my barracks, and yeah. I'd also really like to finish merging Altina up. I like her a lot, actually, and I think with the right skill set she could be a legitimate carry, even outside of her bonus weeks. But she really needs every point of attack she can get, so... And Valencia too. I haven't really invested much into her. She's still working with a budget kit, like a lot of the units in my barracks, but... Amidi is really cool. It's got a solid refine, and she's got the stats to work with it. I actually... this is probably not a build you see on many Sword Hearts, but I'm not really using him as a Vantage Sweeper these days. I've been experimenting a bit with how well his lull works with his refine, and it's actually kind of ridiculous. Because the refine gives him a 10-point attack swing on its own, and the lull gives him another 3 on top of that, and cancels any attack buffs, which makes Heavy Blade really consistent. It's a fun experiment. I haven't really found a good place to use it yet in Ether raids, but it's really good outside of it. We've got Edelgards. I'll get them all to +10 at some point. I actually really like Lex too. I haven't found too many copies of him yet, but I think I'm pretty set on merging him up to +10 eventually. I'm not sure if I'm going to give him a distant countervantage set, or if I'm going to just try and make him a melee specialist, but I think he's actually got a really solid set of attack and defense for a cavalry unit. Got Brave Lynn, who, a lot like some of the others I've just slowly gotten copies of over the years. And Celica, who is waiting for her Resplendent. So close to maxed. She'll get there. Guinevere. He's going to be back next week, because we actually go back to Air Bonus Week, which was surprising to me. I figured we'd be having another Dagos bonus week first, but nope. So Guinevere and Zelgius are coming up again. That's going to be fun. Got Nakaya, and then Azura, who's almost fully merged. We'll get her there. We'll get her there. Rashot. At one point, she actually pity broke me a couple of times before she actually had a refine, and I did not like that. So I think I actually foddered one of her off for the rally attack defense as an arena skill at some point, And I definitely regret that now, because I want to get merges for her. Haven't seen her at all since the 4-star special thing was introduced, though. And sadly, I think she's only available in 1 week of the schedule of, in the rotating schedule of reruns. So, it's Veronica and Tiki, who I still can't quite figure out how I have her at +6. She's just kind of shown up over the years. And Idun, who I do want to show up, and has not shown up as much as I'd like. We've got the other Korins, who I'd also like to get merged up at some point. I actually really loved Fates as just a general concept in the game. I don't think the storytelling did it justice. Which is really unfortunate, honestly. It could have been so much better of a game overall. And Leith, who's also on my merge project list. I'm interested to see what we end up getting for the Beaster finds. They shouldn't show up for a while. I think we'll actually get a Surtur find before we see Beaster finds, but it'll be interesting to see what they get. I like this build a lot on her just because the lull, kind of like with Sword Heart, combines with her weapon and actually makes this heavy blade check really reliable. And Tyburn, who was actually one of my most reliable carries in Ether raids for a long time. He was a lot of fun to use as a Gale Force squad, just with him and 2 or 3 dancers, and yeah, there was some nonsense involved. And Naesala. I'm hoping he shows up in the Hall of Forms at some point. I'd really like to get him some fun skills to play with. And of course, Fallen Nadelgard. I don't have a whole lot of merges for her yet, but I'm hoping to get more for her at some point. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull more for her on this banner. There's just too many other banners competing for attention right now, so... well, we'll get a rerun of her banner at some point, and she'll show up elsewhere as well, so... I'm not too worried. She works really well, even at +1. Alright. That's all the highlights, I think, in my barracks. I do have a lot of units in here, though, so... if you have anyone you're curious about, just poke me, or any other questions, let me know. But for now, let's go and get those merges for Tsubasa and Byleth. Where are you at? There you are. No, still haven't found a plus speed Byleth yet. It's unfortunate. Oh, right, I forgot this was the sparked one, so of course she's neutral. Let's see. Tsubasa, where are you at? Oh, this one was neutral too. Doesn't really matter since you sadly can't merge into a better IV with Formos. But hey, that's what trait fruits are for. Legendary Malecorn, that's an interesting question actually. He might be a staff since the Nornoble was Swords and Dragon Breath, if I remember right, and the Yoshiden one was Swords and Staves. It would be really interesting to see Corrin be a staff legendary, actually. I do think they're going to get an Omega Yado at some point. I'm kind of flabbergasted that they don't have one yet. Or, you know, the Grim Yado and... shoot, what was the Bright Yado called? I can't remember, actually. It's been a while. I do think it's actually really impressive how well they've held off on more Fates and Awakening units. They definitely toned back down on those at some point in the last year or two. Which is good, honestly. Overloading on those was a bit much right at the start of the game. Alright. Well, if nobody else has any questions, I think we'll probably just wrap things up there. I hope you've enjoyed the stream, and again, thank you all for subscribing. It's, yeah, honestly, Omega Yato would be really... I think it would fit, honestly, especially since we just don't have an Omega Yato yet. But it'll be interesting. I don't know what they'll give him. I expect we'll get him at some point, and I am kind of expecting the Legendary this month, or Mythic this month, to be colorless. Though I don't know what the Legendary the month after is looking like just yet. But yeah. I think the only problem with the Mega Yato is that both Corins would kind of be logical fits for it, but we've already got Legendary female Corin as a dragon, and male Corin is kind of missing in action. And it would be really weird to get a Mega Yato on Legendary male Corin and then they give us a female Corin with it as well at some point. But I guess we'll see. He'll show up at some point. Anyway. Wrapping it up for real this time though. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for subscribing too. It's kind of wild to be here right now, so thanks, and I hope I can continue to entertain you and maybe help out with your own arena or AR matches and defenses. So, cheers.